Murderers, rapists, gang members, drug traffickers. They go to prison and most of them get out. True life sentences are rare in Canada, which means dangerous and violent offenders often find their ways back to our communities. Now, prisons keep the public safe while the convicts are behind bars. But what about when they get out? Can prisons make communities safer after inmates are released? Good evening. I'm Cristina Howorun, and tonight we take you behind the barbed wires to examine the rehabilitation and correctional programs at Canada's prisons. Now, is it just busy work, or can workshops and trades training turn a killer into a contributing member of society? On any given day, there are about 13,000 convicts serving time in one of Canada's 42 federal prisons. Most of them will get out. In 2020-2021, only 86 inmates were sentenced to life or an indeterminate sentence, meaning they've received a dangerous offenders designation with no exact release date. But most inmates will be out within 5 years. Back on the streets, back to their families, back to their friends, and back in our neighborhoods. 700 men are counting the hours at Bowden, about an hour's north of Calgary. Okay, so this looks a little bit like a summer camp, but it's actually a federal prison. Convicted murderers, drug traffickers, gun traffickers, and even pedophiles live in these cottage-like dorms. Now, it's not exactly what you would think of when you hear the word prison. I mean, they share kitchens, they make their own meals, they do their own laundry. There's even a baseball diamond and a tennis court and a basketball court. But here at Bowden, just like in many federal institutions, the goal is not just punishment. It's actually rehabilitation. And for many of those, work plays a key role.
Most of the offenders here at Bowden Institution have to be employed. They do have to have a full schedule, so there could be programs or school, some sort of employment with different, garage or maintenance, groundskeeping.
Jeremy Griffith runs Corcan's carpentry division at Bowden.
You have your nailer for the back?
Yeah, I have everything ready to go.
It trains inmates, and the inmates make products for sale and the government.
They have a difficult time getting back in society, but if we can provide anything we can to them, basically as a taxpayer, we all pay for offenders to be in corrections, so we're programmed to help them get out and become off of the taxpayers' funding at the corrections. We've done our part.
John McKill heads up Corcan operations in Alberta. He's been working in corrections for over 20 years.
We have jobs that they come to every morning. It starts with soft skills and then obviously the task skills. So getting up in the morning, coming to work, having a shower, brushing your teeth, those are like the soft skills. And we try and mirror what the construction is on the road. So they will come to work, we do skill training. It can be hand tool safety, forklift driving, telehandlers, roofing, framings, everything from start to finish for construction. We try and capture all of that knowledge and skills for them.
And why is that important?
Well, the idea at the end of the day is that an offender can learn those skills. They can be released from an institution once they cascade their way to eligibility for some kind of release. Hopefully then they'll get a job with a construction company, and then they won't be coming back to the institutions.
Offenders who take part in these programs are more likely to be released on day parole, meaning moving to a halfway house, which is considerably cheaper than prison time and is largely considered a safer way to reintegrate convicts into communities. But they are also more likely to get jobs when they get out. And convicts with jobs are less likely to commit more crimes, meaning fewer victims.
The more people we can get out on the streets without coming back to jail, I think that's a win for everyone. It's tax dollars saved, and someone else is filling a job that needs to be done.
It doesn't always work out. Chris Reed has only been teaching here for a few years. How many of the guys that you've worked with over the last couple of years have you seen come back and forth?
4, and you just know they're coming back. They're institutionalized. You teach them. So they're good when they're here, but as soon as they leave, not all of them, but a lot of them, they'll just go out and reoffend to get back in here.
Nobody in this shop thinks they'll be seeing much more of Troy Cryer.
He's come a long ways, actually. We've taught him. He knew a little bit of, carpentry when he got here. But one thing about him is, when you teach him something, he retains it. Troy, he'll ask questions, and he's got a plan when he gets out. I hope he fulfills it, but at least he has a plan. So we're trying to teach him as much as we can, to try to help him on the outside when he gets out.
I'm on my way to go meet Troy Cryer. Now, when he was 27 years old, back in 2013, he actually killed his uncle. His stat release date is actually early 2025, so he's on his way out. And I want to know how a man who's spent most of his adult life behind bars can actually be ready for life on the street.
I have so much remorse, but I know that what I done, no one can take that. I mean, what I have done that night, there's no like right to make up to that. You know what I mean? Like I killed my uncle in a vicious way. Right now, I'm incarcerated for a manslaughter conviction.
What was going on in your life?
At the time, I was pretty messed up. My mind was unbalanced. I had no control over my emotions, my life, and living the life that I only known at that time was the gang life, my negative influences. I had to leave them. I had to leave that life before. But at the time when this all went down, I was still in the process of leaving. So my mind was still in that mentality of a gang member. Yeah, I was like all riled up and stuff. So I, with a baseball bat in my hand. So I jumped over jumped over them and I grabbed him and I hit him a couple of times in the head. So yeah, I started accusing him of this and that, and he was saying it wasn't true, and it just got out of control really quick. My dad's side of the family pretty much disowned me, I can see, I can see why.
If you could talk to your uncle, what would you say to him?
I'll tell him I'm sorry. I would tell him I'm sorry. I would hug him. And I'll tell him that it wasn't supposed to go down like that.
Troy has spent more than a decade away from his children. Well, you came in here and your kids were so little.
Exactly.
And you're coming out and you're going to be a grandfather.
Yeah, and I don't even got gray hair. Not yet, anyways. But I gained so much.
What did you gain?
I gained my life back. I learned so much. I'm getting my education in here. I'm doing my grade 12 right now, and I'm learning new tools I can use in the workforce.
What's your plan for getting out? What do you want to do?
Well, I want to seek employment right away, right? I want to get a job. I want to get my children back in my care. I want to fight hard to get my boys back, and that's one thing, that's one of my main goals.
This all sounds good, but can trades training turn somebody with a violent criminal history into a positive force in the community? To find out, I'm heading to rural Alberta. It's where Mike Hendricks, a man who has spent 20 years in and out of jail and prison, has recently set up shop. Now, he's been out of jail for almost a full year. His most recent conviction is for attacking a man using a hammer. So, you've never lived on a farm before? Not a farm boy?
No.
How much has this played a factor for you in your success?
Again, like a person, there's a bunch of pieces to make a whole. It's an important piece. Yeah, I feel really at home here. It's nice, near the earth, you know. I feel being around the animals, especially my dog. I love my dog.
You could tell,
Yeah,
like
he's
your
great.
dog and you are best buds, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah, he's awesome. Great animal, so I'm so happy I got him.
What about the horses?
I'm excited to try riding them. I've never been on horses, so.
You don't try, you will ride.
Well, yeah, I will, but yeah, it'll be fun. I ended up going to the doing a pen bit, 4.5 years actually, Grand Cache, and when I got, that's where I learned to weld. Did my first year welding.
You did the welding program?
I did the welding program. I did my first year there. They come in and they apprenticeship people and they test you.
So how'd you do?
Oh, I did good, really good.
Did you
I was
pass?
top of the class. Oh yeah, of course I passed.
So when you did get out, did you find yourself welding?
Yeah, no, I got a job, and I worked there for I think 6 months, and I ended up breaching. I got high, and I got sent back to the jail for a year. So when I got out, I went back to the same place, and they hired me back. So I worked for a year at that point, and then I got into the fentanyl, and I lost my job because I wasn't showing up. Once I lost my job, I was just, I'm going to become a drug dealer now, you know. And I was successful for a short time, for a year, but then things went downhill, and I'm on Calgary's Most Wanted, and it wasn't good.
This isn't all that surprising. While employment can help reduce reoffending, recent studies show that more than 70% of convicts living with addiction end up back in jail or prison within 3 years.
If I didn't have drugs, I was so sick. So I was stealing catalytic converters, I was doing, you know, property crime, that's mostly, and selling drugs at first, but when my addiction was so bad I couldn't manage that, I just did property crime. In and out of jail. I usually out 6 months, in for 4 to 6, you know, out again for maybe a year. I wasn't out for more than a year in the past 6 years. Yeah, I didn't have a whole 12 months where I was out of jail. It'd be every 6 months to 10 months I was in and out.
Your last stint, what was that for?
That was assault with a weapon. I was in a psychosis and went after a guy with a hammer. I mean, he was aggressive towards me, but I could have killed him. I mean, even the judge said that you got so lucky, because I was trying to, but that's how out of my mind I was. I wasn't thinking as consequences, you know, and that was a wake-up call too. You know, if I'd been an inch higher, I could have killed him. I'd be doing many years. And I said, after this, I'm done. You know, I've got to change my life, make some drastic decisions. When I was getting close to the end of my sentence, I saw a woman coming in talking to other prisoners there pretty regularly. So I asked the guards, who is she? She said, the John Howard Society. And I knew a little bit about what they did, so I asked her, what programs do you have for when I get out? And she said, well, we've got this LEAP program.
The Learning Enhanced Employment Program, commonly called LEAP, is geared at helping convicts find work.
I took that LEAP program as soon as I got out. I got my first aid, I got my forklift ticket. By that point, I'd already, my father gave me the money for school to finish my last block of schooling. I just finished that, and I got my red seal. I'm a journeyman.
Today, I'm heading to the John Howard Society of Calgary. The not-for-profit operates in most major cities across Canada and works with people who've come into conflict with the law. Most of their adult clients have been convicted of crimes. Some people are going to watch this and think, why are we helping? All of these criminals, they made those choices. They should be held accountable.
And they have been held accountable. No, they've been held accountable through the criminal justice system. They've been charged, they've served their sentence, they've gone to jail, they've done whatever. They're on probation. They have been held accountable. Does one mistake define the rest of your life?
I'm firmly entrenched in my new way of life now. There's nothing that would tempt me to go back. You know, I love every day when I wake up. I'm not sick. I can do really freedom. I can literally do whatever I want. I went out and got a job. I went and did my gun course. I'll get my license in May. I have freedom and choice to do whatever I want now. It feels great.
Mike is thriving now, but getting a job is just part of the puzzle. What's needed in order to be successful? If you come out of prison and you want to, lead a crime-free lifestyle, what do you need to do?
I would say you need a network of support. So you need some support in reintegrating back into community. You need some support in attaining employment. And you need a whole wraparound approach to reintegration. And some of that might include rebuilding relationships with family members that have been broken. Getting to know your children again, repairing relationships with your family members or friends.
Mike has been doing just that, rebuilding a relationship that's been strained over 20 years, hindered by drug addiction and bouts in jail. Today, he's baking muffins with his mom, something that wasn't fathomable 2 years ago.
I was an emotional wreck, really.
For like a decade.
For 2 decades.
Oh, wow.
He's been on drugs for 20 years. It's been a long, long time. And in and out of jail. Mm-hmm. I mean, that gets to be like a revolving door. In the past, he would always go back to the old hood, the old friends, the old whatever. And in no time, he'd be back into it. To stay off, you need to leave all that behind. Delete all that stuff on Facebook. Delete the numbers in your phone. And then, it's a very difficult transition because he was a somebody in his
community,
drug community. He was a somebody. They looked up to him. Because he was smart.
Yeah.
But when he's clean, he's not somebody. He's just another guy, another person on the street, right?
Now, Mike's reintegration wasn't easy, and it required a lot of help by the prison system, outside agencies, and family, new and old. But many offenders don't have significant networks of support, and many face additional obstacles before they're even sentenced. For example, Indigenous inmates have far worse outcomes than settlers when it comes to the justice system. Despite accounting for only 5% of the Canadian population, 1/3 of all federally sentenced inmates are Indigenous. They are less likely to get paroled or day passes, and when they do get out, they have a higher rate of reoffending. So to combat these outcomes, Correctional Services Canada developed culturally specific programming, helping men and women connect with their traditions in hope of leading them down a new path. How'd you get the feather?
Well, I worked hard. I earned it doing one-on-one calls, like more like healing. Once I started doing the work, digging deep inside, addressing what needed to be addressed, right? Working with the elder, and he had given me, for us in culture, it's like it means a lot more, sentimental value. So I was happy to receive it. When I look back on it, it was a lot of pain. I was hurt, not only for my family, but mostly of what I'd done. The crime I committed. It affected me. It broke me. So it took a long time to rebuild. Because I kept thinking about is the family that the family I took from. I hurt. Not only did I hurt my own family, I hurt his family.
What's going to make sure that this time you make it through the whole 15 years
Mm-hmm.
and you don't come back here or anywhere?
That right there is that's a good question, because I have to maintain my connection to my culture, to the culture that I put so much faith in. Stay true to my commitment to stay alcohol free, drug free, crime free.
Where are you today? Spiritually, emotionally,
Yes,
Where are you inside?
Well, right now I think I'm at peace. I found balance. The longest I ever stayed out of jail since I was 18 was about 12 months. So my commitments are what's going to keep me out. And I'm going to do some good, you know. I want to do some good with the youth. I want to work with them to, you know, show them that, you know, it's not all about drugs and gang life.
Troy will be able to prove this soon. He's scheduled to be released in early 2025. Less than a year after Mike got out of jail, he's completed his education, gotten a job, moved to a ranch, is rebuilding his bonds with his family, and found a whole new circle of friends, many with 4 legs. Now, some of this came through rehabilitative programs in prison, but everything came from his own determination to do better.
Can't believe I got back on by myself. It's the first job I've ever had where I had a 3-day weekend. It's really nice.
Today, he's still finding his footing, but he's using his hands to build a crime and drug-free life for himself. Thank you for joining us for this episode of City News Connects. Stay safe, Alberta.